Hello and you're very welcome to this game pit stop for Warpgate, a game designed by Artyom Nichipurov and published by Wolff Designa. Warpgate is for 1 to 6 players, and in the game each of the players is going to control a galactic civilization. They've all discovered this massive gate on the edge of where they're from, and it's warped them into this virgin area of space, and they're rushing to take control of it. The game is card driven. Every player has got this hand of action cards. They're going to draw 4 at the beginning of a round. Then each player is going to take turns playing 1 into their 1-time space till they do their 2, 3 and 4. And once all players have played all 4 cards, we're going to wipe our cards, draw again and go again. And they're attempting to spread out from their warp gate throughout the area space, taking control of these planets, doing research, battling with each other and looking to score the most points by the end of the game. So as I said, we start with this hand of action cards. When you play them into a slot, their power is determined by how late in the turn you are playing them. So for example, if we wish to bring more spaceships into play, we can play the warp in power. Now if I play it as the first card of my turn, it's only powered by 1 and I will bring 1 ship into play. If later on I had already played a couple of cards into the slots here, and I played it on my 3 times turn where you guessed it, instead I will be bringing in 3 ships into there. So you become more powerful as the round goes on. So the first thing you need to do is get your ships into play, and you can warp them in, as I said, to your warp gate, or instead you can actually reinforce ships to planets that have already got your ships on, but the number of planets is dependent upon the slot where you're at. Once you've got those ships into play, you're going to want to move them. There's a couple of ways you can move them into either empty or friendly planets, and that's by recon or maneuver. And again, the range they can move is affected by where you play the card. The other way in which you can, in a friendly way-ish, move these ships around is via the trade action. Now, some of these planets have got trade goods on them. When you play a trade action, as long as you can make the moves within the ranges assigned by here, and you can hop from one to another, and again, they have to be empty or friendly. These research drones don't count, but we'll get to them. You get to earn a trade good. The trade good will be worth 3 points to you at the end of the game, which is a hefty amount, but also once it can be used to power up an extra. So if I put a card in here, instead of being a 2x card, it'll be a 3x card, and that trade good will be used up. There are ways to flip them back over again via the course of the game by taking extra bonuses. So I said that's the friendly ways in which you can advance, because we are going to be skirmishing as we go around this board. And in fact, skirmish is one of the aggressive movement cards, along with advance and concentrate, and they just move your ships in a different way, but again, the range is always by which card slot you've used. If I was to use them, for example, to move ships into here, then let's say I've done that. It's a 2-on-2 battle. Each player is then going to draw 2 cards from their tactics deck. They're going to choose one of those cards, and it's going to have an effect. It's going to act as a multiplier to the number of ships you have in there. However, it will also have an effect down the bottom. So in this case, I'll get my multiplier times 5 with my 2 ships would be an attack power of 10. After the attack powers have been resolved, because the red player is also going to play a tactics card. Let's say they played this times 2. They would have a power of 4. I'd have 10, so I would be the winner. Then these are going to take effect down here, and they're going to destroy ships in this case, but they do have various other effects. So destroy half the ships on both sides rounded down, would take both of those out, and then this one, in fact, heroic sacrifice, would destroy one of my ships, which would take that out, but I'd still be the winner, so red would have to retreat. And there are all sorts of different permutations from playing those tactics cards. Now, the players start with a basic deck of tactics cards, and in fact that's affected by which civilization you choose. You choose a board unit randomly, you can choose them, and each of these boards comes with a special power which will affect you during play and break the rules in some way. For example, this Heralds of the Void, when they warp in, not just to their warp gate, but they can go to another player's empty outpost or colony, which we're going to get to in a sec. Also, they come with a hero, and that goes into your tactics deck, and that's a slightly improved card. And by taking the promote action, as you see on there, you're also going to look through this deck of advanced cards and select one. You look through as many as it is powered up and add that to your deck, and they're actually all worth a point at the end of the game as well as making you better in battle. Now, why am I worrying about taking over these areas? Well, for several reasons, but one that might be because I wish to play this control card. When I play a control card, it's going to allow me to take control of X planets, powered up. In this case, I'm going to go for all 4 in here. And first, when I take control, I kick anyone else's control out. and then I put them in play as outposts with this side flipped over. Hopefully you'll be able to see on the map here that the map is split into planets, but also these coloured sectors around them. If you take control of all the planets in one of these sectors, you flip them all over and they all become colonies. Now that's going to be important to you because when you create colonies in an area, if any of the planets in that sector matches one of the two available objective cards, and it happens to match both at this time, you can take that objective card, and that objective, now secret to you, will get refilled, but it's available to you to score at the end of the game. And each one of these you can do is worth 5 points. We all start with 1, and these are going to drive some of the options you take during the game. For example, have 2 outposts or colonies on Arctic planets. Well, I did 3 here. That's one of the reasons why I might have done that, to hopefully get these 5 points at the end of the game, and as long as I've kept control of them, because as you saw, other players can move in and they can remove your outposts and your colonies. And the one I drew is to have more ships on a single planet than any opponent, so that will give me something to think about as we go forward on towards the end game. And those will stay secret for me and offer me end game scoring. And there's all sorts of different ones for controlling different areas, for completing your other objectives, for having ships all over the place or ships concentrated, and it's just a varied deck. And in fact, that's one of the drivers which is going to end the game. The game is going to end when all the trade chips get taken, or when all the objectives get taken, or the last thing that can happen is all the research cards up there can be taken. So let's look at research. You have a different type of unit on the board. It's your research drone. When you play the research card, you can move a range of where you've played it on here. And when you move across to another planet, let's say I went backwards here. If the planet type matches one of the 2 research cards available, I can take it. Now it's going to be worth 1, 2 or a variable amount to me, but it'll also give me a power for the rest of the game. For example, whenever I draw 1 action card, draw 3 action cards instead. What's that about drawing cards? Instead of taking one of these actions, what I can do for these slots is, whatever its power is, draw that number of action cards if I don't like the selection of the 4 I've drawn at the beginning of the turn, and that will give me more flexibility, but I would have sacrificed one of my 4 actions in order to do that. The later on in the turn, the more cards I draw, the more flexibility, but I've given up a more powerful action. So as I said, the game's going to end when the trade chits, when the research cards, or when the objective cards run out. And then players are going to add up their points. So you're going to get 5 points for each objective they've done, 3 points for each trade good they've got. Each upgrade of a hero or tactics card is worth a point. And these technology cards are worth, like I said, 2, 1, or it can be a variable amount, and they'll tell you how they score. At that point, whoever has scored the most points is going to be the most successful civilization, and they will be the winner of Warpgate. This has been a Game Pit Stop. For more videos like this, check out our YouTube channel. For more in-depth coverage of gaming, please check out the Game Pit podcast. Thank you.